So in this indirect tax also we have a types like CGST, SGST, IGST. C for central, S for state, and I for integrated. Hope you are clear. Time, place and value of supply. We call it as time of supply, place of supply and value of supply. A warm welcome to one and all. This is your Adarsh sir, lecturing Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. We are discussing the topic called Goods and Service Tax. So we call it as GST. So as you know that all the indirect tax, comprehensively they made it as one tax, that is Goods and Service Tax. In 2017, your GST is introduced and all the indirect tax which are treated as GST. The indirect tax like excise duty, entry tax, your VAT, everything comes under GST. For your 6th semester GST, we have few topics to understand, and we will understand what is GST, what is a procedure, the registration pattern, the calculation, problems and all the basics about GST you will learn in today's session. The agenda of this particular session, 1, we understand the introduction part of GST, syllabus, units, skill development activity and exam pattern. So before we go in depth of your syllabus, we should understand what is GST. The syllabus, you have total 5 units in GST. The first one, basics of taxation. All the taxation basics. In this, we will learn what is direct tax and what is indirect tax. Goods and service tax framework and definition. There are so many definitions are there. For your 2 marks, you can expect definition. Sometimes in the question paper for the 10 marks, they will ask you 5 definitions. Just you have to brief the definition of that particular word. Time, place and value of supply. We call it as time of supply, place of supply and value of supply. At what value you are issuing, what time you are issuing, what place, which place you are issuing, everything matters. GST liability and input tax credit, we call it as ITC, very important. Your 15 marks questions will be on ITC. And the last part, we call it as GST procedure. So before we get into GST, we have to do the registration process, and there is a filing due dates are there for GST. What are the documents required to file and what is the procedure to file the GST returns? These are the 5 units for your examination. Remember, unit 1 is completely theory. GST procedure is completely theory. These 2 topics comes under theory, and small problems you will get GST and service tax framework and definition, but 70% of the portion unit 2 is theory. So usually your tax, indirect tax, it comes with theory. If you want to solve any problems, means you should understand the theory part. The first one, unit 1, basics of taxation. We will go in detail while doing this particular topic, but just I'll brief you what we are going to discuss while doing this particular session, unit 1. We will understand tax meaning and types. There are how many types are there in tax? Briefly, I'll tell you. We have direct tax and indirect tax. What is direct tax? As you know that already we have learned income tax 1 and we are learning income tax 2. Under income tax, there are how many heads are there? Yes, there are 5 heads are there in income tax. As we know that income from salary, income from business or profession, income from capital gain, income from other sources, income from salary, business or profession, capital gain, other sources, and the last one, the salary. As we know that whatever salary we get from the institution where we work, that is income from salary. Business or profession, if you're by profession you're a doctor, you have a separate clinic, whatever income you get from that, that will be called as business or profession. And capital gain, capital gain, it is nothing but if you're selling any of your property, jewelry, all comes under capital gain. And the next one, income from other source. Before that, income from house property. It is not selling of property, letting out property for tenant. Whatever rent you collect every month, that has to be taxed. There are certain limits are there. While doing that particular topic, we will do that actually. But we are not doing direct tax, we are doing indirect tax. Now, other than house property, the last one we call it as other source. Salary, business or profession, capital gain, house property. Other than these four, other income, whatever you get, income from horse race, gambling, lottery income, winning prize. Like recently we watched Big Boss. The whatever income you get from Big Boss as a winner, as a runner, as a second runner up, the amount they get as a winning prize, that comes under income from other source. If you make deposit in banks, the interest what you get, that is income from other source. So these are the incomes, we call it as income from other source. These are the types in direct tax. We are not doing direct tax today, we are doing only indirect tax. What is indirect tax? Indirect tax is only one, that is called GST, goods and service tax. Hope you are clear. In the indirect tax, we have only one. What is the difference? We have the next one. Difference between direct and indirect tax. We'll go in detail while doing the problem, while doing that particular topic, but I'll just brief you. Direct tax, whatever income you earn, you pay directly to the government. Like you calculate your salary slip, you check what is the tax limit, what is the excess amount, you calculate the slab and you'll go and pay the tax. Or else you give to the auditor, auditor does everything and you will pay the tax. That is direct tax. Indirect tax, simple one. If you go to any shop and buy a mobile, you will pay the price along with tax. If you buy one chocolate, you will pay tax. Pen, tax. Stationery, tax. Or if you buy any groceries, you will pay tax. If you buy car, you will pay tax. Indirectly, you are paying tax. You are paying to the showroom, you are paying to the shop owner, you are paying to that particular person. That person will pay on behalf of you to the government. Hope you are clear. That person will pay tax on behalf of you. That is called as indirect tax. Indirectly, we are paying tax. If you take one soap, 10 rupees soap, in that 1 rupee tax will be there. That person will collect tax of all the customers and he will pay on behalf of us. This is called indirect tax. We'll learn in detail what is direct and what is indirect. And as I know, since last 4 to 5 years, every question paper you have a question, difference between direct tax and indirect tax for 10 marks. Without this, there is no question paper. Hope you are clear. The syllabus is very less actually, so easy to prepare and easy to score centum in that. Next, brief history of indirect taxation in India. So in this, it talks about when the GST has started. As I told you, in 2017, GST is started actually. So the complete brief history about indirect tax. For calculation purpose, it is not useful, but for your examination purpose, this is useful. Why? Because you can expect 10 mark question all about the history of indirect taxation. And the last one, structure of Indian taxation. How Indian taxation structure is there. As I told you, your indirect tax, usually there are two things are there. So in this indirect tax also we have a types like CGST, SGST, IGST. I'll explain you what is CG, SG and IGST while doing that particular topic. There we will understand the structure of Indian taxation. Unit number 2, Goods and Service Tax Framework and Definition. As I told you, the more of theories you will get from Unit 1 as well as Unit 2. Unit 1, it is all about theory, and Unit 2, it is all about theory as well as practical. Practical, you can expect 1 2-mark question or maximum 1 10-mark question. Now, introduction to goods and service tax. You will have an introduction part about goods and service tax because in Unit 1, we all talk about the types of taxation. Unit 2, you will understand more about GST. Orientation to CGST, SGST, IGST. Remember, C for central, S for state, and I for integrated. Hope you are clear. Central goods and service tax, sales goods and service tax, and indirect or integrated goods and service tax. Next, meaning and scope of supply. This is the most important. Supply. You have a separate unit for that. As I told you, place of supply, value of supply, and time of supply. That is a complete unit. You have a theory as well as practical in that particular topic. Types of supply. You have a one separate unit on that. So no need to study in this unit. You have a separate in detail you can learn. Exemption from GST, important. Every question paper you have 1 2-mark question exempted from GST. There are many things are there. Egg exempted, 0 GST. Salt, normal salt, it is a 0 GST. All the vegetables, 0. All the former items like which should not be converted, like sugar cane comes under 0. If you convert sugar cane into sugar, then it is taxable. Hope you are clear. Milk, exempted. There is no GST. Milk converted to curds, taxable. Milk converted to ghee or butter, that will be taxable. If you raw what you get from the land, if you do any conversion for that, then it will come under tax. If nothing, directly you will extract and you will consume that, there is no tax for that. Hope you are clear. So all the vegetables comes under exempted. So vegetable, the same vegetable if you chop and if you keep it in a box and if you sell, then it is taxable. Hope you are clear. Yes. So you hope you understood the exempted from GST. It is your 2-mark question. Just as I told you, egg, vegetables, salt, like this you have to write any 4 item for your non-tax, any khadi items which comes under exempted. The unit number 3, as I told you, there is a most important topic. Why? Because the time, place and value of supply. Now, without this, your question paper you cannot find actually, because 15 marks, 1 problem from this topic. 10 marks, 1 theory from this topic. 2 marks, 2 theories from this topic. As I told that 15 marks, 1 theory, are practical, 10 marks theory, and it will be 25 plus 2 plus 2, 4. 29 marks is covered from this particular topic. Hope you are clear. Yes. So what is your passing? 21. How much you will get from this particular unit? You will get 29 marks. Clear? Now, so there is a most important topic for your examination concern, and the practical problems on this, you believe or not, within 5 minutes you can learn this. I can teach you within 5 minutes means you can learn in that 5 minutes, because easiest part, just you have to remember which has to be excluded, which has to be included. If you just add everything and minus the discount portion, your problem is done. Clear? The easiest part of your GST is time, place and value of supply. time of supply. Why we have a topic called time of supply means, assume that usually the goods which are, for example, I am the customer, you are the seller. I'll come to your shop on 1st Jan. I'll order for the goods on 3rd January. On that time, you don't have stock. When you will send? On 7th Jan. So payment, I have taken time of 1 month. The payment will be done on 1st February. And the invoice, for the payment you should give me invoice. Yes, that is done in the month of Jan 20th. Now you just tell me time of supply. They sold the goods. Yes. They have to pay the tax. Yes. Tax should be paid to whom? Government. When they should pay the tax? That is a question. Why? Because 1st January I inquired, 3rd January I bought, 7th January they dispatched to my place, 1st February I made a payment, invoice was given 20th January. There are so many dates are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which date government should consider the goods is sold? Hope you are clear. You may say that's an invoice price. The logic is there because we have to consider invoice as well as payment date also, even the time of supply of goods also. There are so many concepts, logic, and so many things to learn while understanding the time of supply. That is a reason while doing that particular topic, I'll explain you. There are so many interesting stories are there. With that, you can learn time of supply. In case of goods, in case of services, in this also there are two types are there. Time of supply, there are two types of supply. One is in the form of goods, in the form of services. I don't go in depth because if I tell everything here, no need of doing that particular unit itself. That's why while doing that particular unit, I'll explain you what is goods and what is services. For example, you're buying a mobile. Mobile is a goods. I am a customer. You're the seller. You're giving me mobile. That is goods. Second one, you have a transportation service. I hired a vehicle from MYSURU to Bangalore. You're giving me service. Second one, I'm a teacher. You're a student. I'm taking classes for you. I'm not transferring anything in physical, but I am delivering lectures. That is called services. Your telephone recharge, services. Hope you are clear. So all the entertainment sector, if you go to some movie theater, you will pay 200 rupees and you will watch movie. That is called services. Hope you are clear. There are two types of supply. One, you can supply the goods. One, you can supply the services. Problems on ascertaining time of supply, place of supply. I'll make you understand all about place, time and value while doing that particular topic. In case of goods, in case of services, same thing. Problems on identification of place of supply, where the sales happened. I'll tell you, for example, your Bata. Assume that the main office is in Delhi and branches are in Mysuru and Bangalore. You're purchasing Bata shoes from Bangalore. You're purchasing Bata shoe from Mysuru. Assume that the manufacturing is happening in Delhi. Then you may get confusion that whether the goods is sold from Delhi or whether the goods is sold from Mysuru or whether the goods is sold from Bangalore. Because the bill comes from Delhi means there you will have doubt. So there is a simple example. One more I can give you. If you buy anything from Flipkart, Amazon, clear? Online you will buy, but that particular goods may come from Rajasthan, Gujarat, Delhi, some other places. Then we have a confusion that whether I should consider Bangalore because the office is in Bangalore, or should I consider Rajasthan because the goods is delivered from Rajasthan. All these confusions I'll make you clear while doing that particular topic. Value of supply. Now, place is over, time is over. Now, the next thing is value. what price I should consider. Should I consider MRP? Should I consider the discounted value? Or should I, for example, everywhere it is available for 100 rupees because you are my brother, I am giving you for 40 rupees. Now tell me on what price I should charge tax. You may say that, sir, you sold at 40, you should charge GST on 40. But GST is calculated on 100, GST is calculated on 40. If you calculate on 40, the GST value will be less. If you calculate on 100, the GST value will be more. If you calculate on 40, there is a loss to the government. If you calculate on 100, there is a loss to you. That's why this confusion will be clear if you understand value of supply. Inclusion and exclusion, as I told you while doing that particular problem, you should understand what has to be included, what has to be excluded. That is important. Next one, problems on calculation of value of supply. So which are the problems? I'll do it while doing that particular lesson. And as I told you, from your first PUC till now, one of the easiest problem, if you say, means that is problems on calculation of value of supply. Whatever given in the question paper, same thing, write it, add minus discount, you will get 15 marks. Who will give you 15 marks without doing anything? Clear? Next. Unit number 4, GST liability and input tax credit. So I'll make you understand how to do input tax credit actually. Input tax credit is most important topic. Input tax credit means already you have paid the tax. There is an excess tax you paid. We have a calculation of output tax and input tax. So in that outward and inward, the excess tax whatever you have, that can be carried for later. That is called input tax credit. In this, we will understand the rates of GST. There are so many rates are there. This is also your 2 marks question. You may get 0%, you may get 4%, you may get 12%, you may get 18%, 28%. There are so many types of GST rates. This is your 2 mark question. Mention any 4 GST rates. Classification of goods and service, rates, problems on computation of GST liability. This will be your 10 or 15 mark question. And input tax credit, meaning this is your 2 mark question. They will ask you what is ITC. You have to expand that input tax credit and you have to explain them what is input tax credit. Process of availing input tax credit. Everybody can't claim input tax credit. There are few people, few restrictions are there. Based on that, they can claim input tax credit. Problems on calculation of input tax credit. This is one you will get for 15 marks problem. And net GST liability. These are your syllabus given by the university. And the last unit, as I told you, it is completely theory. Now, for you, it takes maximum 1 hour to learn, but there will be one question for 15 marks, one question for 10 marks, and one question for 2 marks. The notes will be maximum 3 to 4 pages. 3 to 4 pages, you can get minimum 25 marks. Now, registration under GST, who can register and who are eligible for GST. Next, tax invoices. If you go to any shop and buy something, you will get an invoice copy that is called as tax invoice. Levy and collection of GST, how to collect and how to charge GST. Composition scheme, I'll explain you more about composition scheme. It is a constructed tax. I'll tell you what is composition. Due dates for payment of GST, you cannot pay every day. There are quarterly, monthly GST filing is there. You have to do that. And accounting records for GST. See, once you pay GST means you cannot keep quiet. You have to maintain all the documents which are required by the government, because government can inquire any time. If they come and do the scrutiny, you have to show all the records, how you calculated and what is the procedure. Nowadays, everything is happening online. So that is a reason no need to calculate manually. All the calculation has to be is done online. Next, GST return. You have to learn more about GST return. Why? Because your 10 marks theory more on GST returns. Types of returns. Then monthly returns. As I told you, you can file monthly, annual, and final return. Payment can be done monthly and quarterly. Next, due dates for filing of return. There are so many due dates are there. On that time, you have to file your return. Then final assessment. There is a final assessment in GST. I'll explain you while doing that particular topic. Accounts and audit under GST. So what are the accounts and audit you have under GST? You will understand while doing that particular topic. So skill development. So you're in final year BBA. Along with your normal syllabus, you have to go with skill development. Like whatever you learn is all theoretically, but you have to understand what are the forms under GST and what are the forms number and how to file the returns, so that practically you have an exposure as well as practically you can learn actually. Now, so list out the process of GST registration, chart out time supply, identify place of supply, GST liability for particular transaction, expansion, the process. These are not much important, but you should have practical exposure to understand better. Now, question paper pattern, as you know that all the other paper, how you get the same pattern will be there. They will be your 10 mark, 20, 30 and total will be 60 marks. 2 into 5, it will be your 10 marks. Like your 2 mark question, you will be getting 5 questions. So it will carry 10. And you will get 10 mark 2 question, that will carry 20. In your examination, there will be 4 questions will be there. Out of 4, you are supposed to attend any 2. 15 marks, there will be 4 questions will be there. Out of 4, you are supposed to attend any 2. And your overall weightage for your examination is 60. And remaining 40 will be your internal assessment that is given by college. Clear? So to get centum or to score 100, this is the best paper I can suggest and I can prefer. So this is all about your today's GST. Hope you got the minimum knowledge about GST, your question paper pattern, and the books. I don't suggest anything for this. Why? Because every year the rates will change. The new amendments will come. That is the reason whatever the notes given by the college, given by your faculty, there is more than sufficient to get centum for this. Thank you so much.